Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts.
Hey, everyone.
Today we have a really interesting lineup for you. We're looking at the industry through a very specific editorial lens.
Right, because there are these, structural forces happening behind the scenes.
Exactly. We're looking at how these forces are completely reshaping your passenger experience and, more importantly, your wallet.
Yeah, it's so easy to just focus on the water slides and the infinity pools.
Right. But there's a whole economic machine running under that. So we've got three stories for you today. We're looking at P&O's earlier pay-in dates, a really fierce battle over rising port costs in Newport, and Carnival's new onboard dining time saver.
It's a lot of ground to cover.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the wallet. P&O Cruises is officially changing its final payment deadline.
Yeah, this is a big one.
It really is. For the longest time, the standard for P&O has been a 90-day window. So you'd pay your remaining balance 3 months before you set sail.
Right.
But they are extending that out to 120 days.
A full 4 months. And the timeline for this is actually really specific.
Yeah, walk us through that.
So this policy shift applies to new bookings made from March 10th, 2026 onward. But it's specifically for cruises departing on or after December 1st, 2026.
Okay, got it. Which means, if you already have a booking, you're protected under the old 90-day rule.
Exactly.
And even if you book after March 10th for, say, a sailing this coming October,
Right.
you still fall under that 90-day umbrella.
Yep, you're safe. But once we hit that December 2026 departure window, which, by the way, is the peak of the winter getaway season, the new reality kicks in.
And P&O is rolling this out across their entire 7-ship fleet. That includes those massive LNG-powered sister ships, the Arvia and the Iona.
Right, which are just huge vessels.
I mean, it's like tightening the financial belt loop, right? The traditional 3-month buffer you had to save up has suddenly become 4 months. So what does this all mean for the passenger's wallet strategy?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really all about cash certainty and inventory control.
Makes sense.
I mean, think about the sheer scale of ships like Arvia and Iona.
Yeah.
We're talking about vessels carrying over 5,000 guests each.
Right, floating cities.
Exactly. They represent billion-dollar investments. They require incredibly complex refueling logistics for that liquefied natural gas. So, operating at that scale, they just need absolute financial certainty.
Because if someone cancels at the last minute?
It's a nightmare. If a guest cancels a cabin 90 days out, P&O is in a really tough spot. 3 months is often just not enough time for a new customer to, arrange time off work, book flights, get childcare sorted.
Yeah, I'd scramble if I had to plan a cruise in 3 months.
Right. So the cruise line is forced into this fire sale scenario where they have to aggressively discount the room.
Which obviously hurts their bottom line, but at 120 days.
At 4 months out, they have a much healthier runway. They can resell that cabin at a premium, or at least near premium price, to people who still have time to plan.
And to be fair, this brings them in line with the rest of the industry, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. This 120-day marker is becoming the standard everywhere.
Yeah, like P&O's corporate cousins under Carnival Corporation. Cunard and Seabourn already use 120 to 150 days.
Norwegian uses 120 days across the board. Virgin Voyages launched with a 120-day policy right from day one.
Wow, so it's just the new normal. But P&O isn't just dropping this hammer without a sweetener, right?
No, they know this adds friction for you, the passenger, especially for their core UK clientele dealing with, cost of living stuff.
Right. So they are heavily promoting these select price sailings. If you book a qualifying itinerary between April 2026 and March 2028, they're throwing in up to £850 in onboard credit.
Which is huge. That's for specialty dining, spa treatments, retail.
It's like house money. But it's brilliant for P&O because giving you £850 in retail value costs them way less in actual overhead.
Exactly. It softens the blow of you paying earlier, but guarantees your spending in their high-margin venues.
It's fascinating, and, it highlights the structural irony in the industry.
Oh, absolutely. Because while the cruise lines are demanding all this financial predictability 120 days in advance from you,
the destinations they visit are throwing these sudden curveballs that totally wreck the cruise line's own budgets.
at such a clash. The cruise lines need predictability, but local governments need immediate revenue.
Which brings us to our second story. There is a fierce battle over port costs happening right now in Newport, Rhode Island.
Well, this one is getting messy.
Yeah, so Governor Dan McKee has his fiscal 2027 budget, And he's proposing raising Newport's per-passenger cruise fee from $10 to $15.
That's a 50% increase overnight.
Right. And the kicker is where that extra $5 is actually going.
Yeah, it's not staying in Newport.
No, it's going to the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, or RIPTA. They have a projected $13.8 million deficit, and they want to fund a new mobility hub.
So the state is basically using a local tourism engine to plug a statewide transit hole.
And the local officials in Newport are absolutely furious. The city council voted unanimously to oppose it.
I don't blame them.
Councilor Jean-Marie Napolitano actually had a great quote. She said, "I do like Gov McKeon, but he didn't consult anybody. It was like we got smacked right after we got it."
That lack of consultation is everything. The city council has to maintain these relationships with the cruise lines, and the state just bypassed them completely.
Now let me play devil's advocate here. A $5 hike sounds like the price of a fancy coffee to you or me. Can $5 really cause a massive cruise ship to drop a port?
It really can, because you have to look at the multiplier effect.
Right, the volume of passengers.
Exactly. If you have a ship with 4,000 passengers, a $5 increase is an instant, unexpected $20,000 tax bill for just one visit. And if they call on Newport 20 times in a season, that's $400,000 they never budgeted for. Newport's harbor master, Stephen Land, actually warned that this would make Newport the most expensive tender port in New England.
And just to clarify for everyone, a tender port means the ship can't dock at a pier, it drops anchor in the harbor, and they have to ferry you back and forth on smaller boats.
Which is already a massive logistical cost for the cruise line.
Right.
And then you compare Newport to neighboring ports. Boston charges $3.
$3. And Provincetown is like, what, $2 or $2.50?
Yeah, exactly.
And Newport was already at $10 because in 2024 they raised it from $3 to $10, specifically to fund local harbor projects.
Right, so the city finally gets their infrastructure funding sorted, and then the state swoops in to siphon off this 50% premium for transit.
Though, to be fair, RIPTA's CEO, Christopher Durand, says there's a significant increase in ridership tied to tourism.
Sure, but for the cruise lines, the issue isn't even just the money. It's the timing.
Right, because their itineraries and pricing are locked in years in advance. They can't go back to the passenger and say, hey, we need an extra $5.
They just have to eat the cost. And that destroys their financial modeling.
So, if cruise lines can't control these rising, unpredictable port taxes, what do? They double down on what they can control.
Which is your time on board.
Exactly. Which leads perfectly into our final story. Carnival Cruise Line is rolling out something called express dining.
I am so fascinated by this concept.
It's wild. They are promising to deliver a multi-course main dining room dinner in under an hour.
Under an hour, that's fast.
It's currently on 15 ships, including the big ones like Jubilee, Mardi Gras, and Vista, and they're rolling it out fleet-wide by the end of May 2026.
Executing that in a commercial galley is no joke.
Right, so here's how it actually works for you. It's capped at parties of 6 or fewer.
That makes sense. Big tables take forever just to order.
Yeah, and you opt in via the Carnival Hub app if you have your time dining, or you just ask the dining team. There's no extra cost.
But the menu's a bit smaller.
It is an abbreviated menu, yeah. But they keep the heavy hitters. You can still get the filet mignon, the grilled lamb chops, and of course, the warm chocolate melting cake.
You can't touch the melting cake. There would be a mutiny.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's basically fast-tracking elegance. You get the filet mignon, but you aren't held hostage at the table for 2 hours.
Fast-tracking elegance. I like that.
Yeah.
And Carnival President Christine Duffy said this is really driven by what guests want. People want flexibility for evening entertainment.
Yeah, you want to see a comedy show or hear live music or just get your exhausted kids to bed.
Exactly. We saw them test this vibe with the Family Express lunch at the Lido Marketplace.
Right.
But moving it to the main dining room is a huge step.
It really is.
But, this raises an important question. How do you maintain hospitality standards with stopwatch precision?
That's the million-dollar question.
Freeing up passenger time isn't just Carnival being nice. It structurally benefits them.
Oh, massively. Think about it. The main dining room is a huge cost center. While you're sitting there for 2 hours eating food that's already included in your fare, you aren't spending money anywhere else.
Right. You aren't in the casino. You aren't buying a premium cocktail at the Alchemy Bar.
By getting you out in under an hour, Carnival moves thousands of guests into revenue-generating spaces so much faster.
It's a win-win. You get your evening back, and they get an extra hour of high-margin spending time from you.
So, when you look at all three of these stories today, the theme is just so clear.
It really is. I mean, the industry is moving toward this really fascinating contradiction.
How so?
Well, think about it. On board, your passenger experience is becoming all about ultimate flexibility and speed, right? Like express dining.
Right, totally frictionless.
But behind the scenes, the financial commitments are becoming incredibly rigid. You have to pay 120 days out just to secure your spot. The cruise lines are battling these strict sudden port fees. The freedom you feel on board is being entirely propped up by this very rigid financial machinery running out of sight.
That is such a great point. The onboard experience has never been more fluid, and the economics have never been more strict. Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.